Hey everybody, welcome to a episode of the Tiger Mining Report. Kind of a quickie, if you will, with the spring breakout roster coming out today and when it's going to be happening and all the details for that. So decided to do a quick, trying to break down the roster, some of the misses, and not to mention too, over the last couple of days, the MLB pipeline prospect list came out too. I did want to talk about that briefly. And then the Tigers did sign a shortstop by the name of Jack Dunn from the Nationals. And so, it is just a depth move there. But I don't know. It's the Tigers had an off day today. I think today was their first off day, wasn't it?
First scheduled off day. They had the one rain out, but yeah, this is the. I don't know if they have any more. Honestly, maybe one more in spring training. You don't get a lot of days off. I don't know if they actually took it as a day off or if they were still out there working. But no game today, that's for sure.
Yeah, it was a little weird, but it was a kind of a weird day around the city of Detroit. Just want to give some respects to Andy Isaac, the World of Isaac, who passed away today. And just wanted to give respects to him. Really good guy. I've met him a couple times, and just one of those things. It just sucks. Cancer sucks. I mean, goes without saying. But so the rosters came out today. The Tigers will be playing on March 16th, Sunday, March 16th at 4:00. The game will be streamed on MLB.com, MLB TV, MLB Network, and they'll be taking on the Braves. And so it continues because the Braves and Phillies are nearby. They've been playing the Phillies seems like every day, but So in this case, let's get down. We'll start with the infield, and what we'll do is just simply, just for the sake of people like when we do visuals kind of thing, but it's easier just to share the article. So I did an article earlier on it, and so we'll start with the infielders, and on our list. Kevin McGonigal, who's number 2 on our top 46. Bryce Rayner, number 7. Jose Bersenio, comes in number 5. Hayu Lee, Frangerbeer Montalia comes in number 12. Max Anderson, number 33. Carson Rucker, Jake Holton, and John Peck. And John Peck, I know he was on your sleepers list, but the infield is looking pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say it's kind of funny looking at these two different rosters. The Braves have one of the 3 worst farm systems in baseball. The Tigers have one of the 3 best, and it's pretty obvious to see when you look at. You just see like, what is that? 5 players in our top 10 right there in the infield alone. Maybe 4. You're really, really exciting group there. It's going to be fun to see how they set it up. I wonder if they're going to have Lee play third and McGonigal play short, and Montilla play second, or McGonigal at second and Rayner at short. Like, this is the first time anybody's going to get to see Bryce Rayner play, really, as his first kind of pro game. But yeah, I mean, this is just about every one of these guys is exciting. Like Carson Rucker, we've been waiting to see him. We're finally getting a chance to see him. And as you said, John Peck is kind of one of my picks to maybe break out a little bit this year, just based on he's got all these nice underlying skills. He just hits the ball on the ground too much. So if he can get the ball in the air a little bit more, he'd be interesting. But then you got Jake Holton. We have Jake Holton on our prospect list. He's the wily veteran. It's nice to have him there, and he's a quality player. We talked about it before. Like it's just unfortunate that he's a first baseman, because the bar for being a big leaguer at that position is so high. But he's a good all around player.
Yeah, and he's a guy who will, one of those things where he just will come. He does a good job of defensively too, as a first baseman.
Yeah,
I don't think he gets a lot of credit for that, but I think he's pretty good at first base, and I don't know where he's going to be start. I think he's going to probably start the year at Toledo.
Yeah, I mean, it depends. If Torkelson doesn't make the roster, or Malloy, you would think that one of those guys would be playing first base regularly, but they may be able to just kind of alternate between first base and DH with Holton. Yeah, I mean, you got Holton and Bersenio there for first base. You got McGonigal, Lee, possibly Montilla there for second. You got McGonigal, Montilla, Rayner there for short. You got Rucker. You got Rayner possibly at third, and Lee there at third. There's a lot of different ways they can set this up.
Yeah, and that's like a nice mixed variety. Like I'm saying, like this is where the Tigers actually are showing how deep they are. And that's something that we've hardly said about the infield. Probably, I mean, and I know this is only the second game we've done this, or the second time we've done this, but overall, it shows that the absolute depth that the infield has right now.
Yeah, I mean, there are a handful of other guys you could argue that would be interesting there too. And you got Jim Jarvis, you got Danny Soretti, you got Peyton Graham, all these guys that could be in the game. But it's nice for McGonigal because he missed it last year because of his hamstring injury. So hopefully he can stay healthy this time, and maybe more people get a chance to see him.
Yeah, and people will see exactly what it's all about. Everybody's already seen a little bit of Hyu Lee, who hit a 428-foot double, which is something that it was a 29 30, but was it 29 and 30 ballparks that'd be out of? And
yeah, you know what? I forgot. I actually it looks like they adjusted that to 426 feet, and I actually did a search today to see how many Tigers hitters in the Statcast era have hit a ball over 420 feet that wasn't a home run, and it's like 16. So, I mean, we said that Hyu Lee's got some pop. I don't know if people believed it, but he's already hit a ball harder than Colt Keith and Jace Young ever have. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's saying a lot, and especially at a ball like I know that is I think Lakeland has the deepest center field in the Florida State League, I believe.
I would imagine. I don't know those ballparks terribly well, but it was, it's 420 feet kind of for a reason, right? That's the same distance, or at least, what it used to be at Comerica.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's continue on to the outfield. So now we move on to the outfield, and the outfield is a little different as far as like depth goes. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a couple standouts here on our list. Max Clark coming in number 3, Roberto Campos number 13, and then Brett Callahan at number 20. But in terms of like other lists for Brett Callahan, Chris, I know we're pretty high on him. Max Clark, there's it's pretty much self-explanatory at this point, and we think he's going to start the year at West Michigan before he goes to Erie pretty quick. But I'm, Nomar Fana and Steph Stevenson. Steph Stevenson, I have no issue with. The guy led the team in steals last year with 60, but Fana, I don't know. Like I thought there'd be another way to go about this.
Well, yeah, it depends. Clark is going to be the star. They're going to probably have him mic'd up and have him talking during the game and stuff. That's just who he is, and he'll be the guy that people want to see. The spring breakout last year was kind of a lot of people's first real glimpse at him. Anyway, and yeah, like we like Callahan. We think he's kind of underrated. Campos, we've talked about that. There's some prospect fatigue there. People don't realize how young he still is. Stevenson is a fun one, like you said, and Nomar Fana, I think is. It's fine. He's gotten to a couple spring games, and so I don't know. We discussed, like, do they really like him? Do they treat him? Do they think he's an org guy? I don't know. It's they might really like him. We haven't heard much about it. He got into games down the stretch in Lakeland. He's a little bit older. I think he's 21.
21, yeah.
And by a little bit older, like a little bit older to have only been in low A, but. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens when he's out there. I mean, you've talked about it before. That the outfield depth in the system is not great. And honestly, there are a couple of guys at higher levels that we've seen. Like we've seen Navigado play a bunch of outfield in spring training. We've seen Bigby a little bit. They may just want to keep those guys playing in spring training games, because of what's going on in the big league team right now. So maybe they kicked it down a little bit. I thought we might see Patrick Lee or Jackson Strong, but I don't mind seeing any of these guys. It'll be fun.
Yeah, and again, it sounds like I'm being disparaging on Fana. I'm not. I was just surprised based off Patrick Lee, those guys you brought up. That's maybe get some time like that. But then again, maybe Lee gets some time if he starts the year at Erie, which I think it's more likely probable that he can start the year in Erie, and so. Maybe he just needs to get some more reps on the higher level. So, because if you look at it, I mean, with the exception of Campos, Campos and Stevenson are probably going to start the year in Erie.
Yeah, probably. I don't. It depends. We got Ben Malgeri. He's been having a good spring. Hasn't played a ton, but he had a big, start to it. Brady Allen still exists, I think. We saw him in one spring game, like you said.
Yeah. No Chris Myers, though.
We haven't seen Chris Myers at all, so I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, Trey Cruz is injured. He could play some outfield, could play some infield, but I don't know if they want him back on the field just yet. So
I think they're going to have him DH when they first come back. That's what
that would make sense to me for, it's Tommy John or whatever. So you don't want to, maybe being in the outfield would be a little bit better, but I don't know. In any event. So yeah, outfield is kind of a thin spot in the org for talent. But one of the things you can always count on is somebody who is an infielder probably playing their way into the outfield. It just kind of happens sometimes. Winslow Perez was an infielder back in the day.
Yeah, it happened to Chris Myers last year. He stepped in left field for the first time and did a pretty good job out there. So catchers, not so much of a surprise here with, but it was Theron Luzardo being number 6 on our list. Enrique Jimenez, who I believe was on your sleepers list, correct?
Yeah, I had him in my top 30. And again, it was just, we got to see him a little bit in the Gulf Coast League last year, and he got a little bit overshadowed by some of the other, like Montilla, some of the other young international guys. But I think what I wrote is, it wasn't that long ago that, we would be super excited about a player like him, switch hitting catcher who's got some defensive chops and shown decent power and patience at his age. It just so happens that now the Tigers have a lot more talent, so it's not focused on him that much. And so that'll be fun to see him, catching some big arms. I thought we might see Anderson Delgado, the another switching hitting catcher that they got from the Rays for Alex Faedo, but just the way it went. But both these guys, and obviously Lorenzo is one of the more exciting prospects in the system. We've seen him do some things in the minors already, or in spring training already. Home run, hit a triple the other day. So that's going to be, I think he's going to be another one of the players that they're really, there's going to be a lot of focus on a lot of these guys. Clark, McGonigal, Briseño, Lorenzo. I would bet that the Tigers spring breakout roster has more top 100 prospects than any other team. I haven't looked.
Maybe
it's possible.
Boston.
It's I don't know. What will Boston send? The Boston, the 3 top, I think Boston has 4 top 100 prospects. And the Tigers have, actually don't know on the pipeline. They either have 5 or 6, and they're all in the game.
Maybe the White Sox?
Well, not Job.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's we'd have to look, but it's there. I don't think anybody's gonna have more than them, I should say. So yeah, it's just storylines abound, and I wonder if our buddy Dan Hastie's gonna get to do the broadcast again.
Yeah, hopefully he does. That'd be awesome. And you know what though, it's weird because Alfonso is also a switch hitting catcher. So the Tigers all of a sudden have all these switching catchers, which they didn't have before. So it's really weird to me that it's like almost all of them now exclusive in that regard. Yeah. So I know that we noticed that Briseño is not listed as a catcher, and I still think he's going to be. There's some, I don't know, some discussion that maybe he'll see some time behind the plate, but I don't really think so. I could be wrong. I just don't see that happening.
It would be one thing if he didn't hurt his knee last year, right? And he just needed a lot of work that you could still play him behind the plate. Given how seemingly advanced his bat is and that he hurt his knee, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to subject him to that. Obviously he'd be more valuable if he was a catcher and performing the way he does. But, if he reaches his ceiling as an offensive player, then he'll be just fine at first base. He's going to get on base. He's going to hit, and he's going to hit for power. So that'll work.
Work here is the pitching. So pitcher-wise, it's very, very deep. You have Jaden Ham. You have Troy Melton. You have R.J. Pettit, whose miles per hour has increased. C.J. Waynes, who they picked up from Boston. Mm-hmm. Josh Randall. Michael Massey will be making his pro debut because he was, we had him on the podcast, and he was having, I believe he had back issue. Montevo, who comes in at number 16. Tyler Owens, who's been, I'm surprised to see him honestly on this list because he's been pitching so much in spring training. Max Alba, Jake Miller, who we're big fans of, and Micaiah Ashman, which also surprised me because Gabriel Reyes, no Rainer Castillo, or Garrett Burhan at all. And that, it shows how deep the system is of pitching, but it's kind of surprising not to see at least Rainer Castillo on this list.
Yeah, well, so that's one of the things, last year when we were looking at this, we saw that like, hey, why isn't Tyler Madison on this? Like, he was definitely like their top relief prospect, and it seemed like he should have been in the game. And then we find out 10 days later or whatever, when they released the injury report, like, oh, he hurt his arm. He's going to have Tommy John surgery. I don't want to speculate on any other pitchers, but that we're going to find out soon enough if somebody's injured. And it happens, right? Pitchers get hurt. I don't know if Castillo's hurt. I don't know if Reyes is hurt. I don't know if Burhan's hurt. We saw Burhan early in spring training. We haven't seen him since. Hopefully they're all healthy. And it could just be part, we know they have detailed plans for all these players. So it could just be part of what they want them to work on, or just the way it happens that that's not a day for them where they can actually participate. But yeah, it's still a very interesting group. You mentioned Ham and Melton. Those are two of the, I think, basically our second and third ranked pitchers in the system right now.
Yeah,
behind Job.
Mm-hmm.
And both pretty exciting on their own right. You mentioned Pettit. He's a big, strong reliever. He was one guy that we kind of felt bad that none of us mentioned him in our top 60s, but you were able to put him on your sleeper list, I think, right?
Yeah.
And CJ Wines, I think it's pronounced. I don't know. We got to see him a little bit. He got up to AA last year, I think, and he's one of those guys who doesn't blow you away with velocity, but he's got like the shape on his fastball is really good, and hitters don't seem to pick it up. It's another interesting reliever. And Max Alba was on on this roster last year, and that's kind of what perked our ears up about him. We're like, because we had heard about him but never paid a ton of attention because he's not a ton of velocity. And then we went and saw him in person, and we say, okay, all right,
yeah,
he's the one with like a 2,650 RPM fastball, and he can spin the ball. So he's interesting. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun to see Randall and Massey, a couple of draft picks last year. Montalvo, we saw, he's got a lot of upside, and it'll be interesting to see if he's throwing harder this year, because that was one thing that we thought was really going to take him to the next level. And who else we got? I was kind of interested or surprised with Tyler Owens too. But what that tells me is like, it doesn't matter. And I think we knew this anyway. Like the bullpen's kind of deep now. Doesn't really matter what he does in spring training. He's not going to crack the bullpen out of that. But I think this is a good sign that he's probably going to be pitching the 8th or 9th inning in Toledo. Just based on the way he's performed and that he's in this game. And yeah, Micah Ashman is a fun one too, because he was what, their 10th, 11th rounder last year?
I believe, 11th rounder out of Utah.
Yeah, and he's a lefty who's has an absolutely invisible fastball. It's
we saw his debut last year in Lakeland last year, didn't we?
Yeah, he throws like 90. He was closing games for Lakeland down the stretch.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs, it's like a 90 to 92 mile an hour fastball, but hitters just do not see it. I don't, I couldn't tell you exactly what the metrics are there. I'm sure we could look them up, but it's just one of those things where, yeah, it's a really interesting arm, and I'm sure they wanted to get. I mean, he and Miller are the only lefties in the squad, right?
Yep, correct.
So they want to have a couple lefties, and they picked him instead of Gabriel Reyes, or we don't see any of the prep players they drafted, right? No. No Ethan Scheffelbein, no Owen Hall. So they just wanted to, get a couple lefties in there for variety. And I don't know, we didn't even talk about Jake Miller, really. I mean, he's seemingly picking up some steam in prospect circles. At least he made the pipeline list. I think that was the only other list besides ours, and I think Bless You Boys had him ranked. So that's good to see. And I wonder who's going to start the game. I would guess Melton.
Yeah,
I think he pitched second or third in last year's game, maybe later.
Correct me if I'm wrong, too. I think the minor league games start next week, don't they? Like the AA, AAA games, I believe, start next week.
That sounds right. I don't know the exact date, but it's usually around this time. And we've seen the first cuts out of camp, and so it's usually those minor league guys who are going over to start playing every day. But yeah, that sounds right. And it's interesting because last year's Tigers squad, they played the Phillies, as you said. They had a lot more talent, I would say, than the Phillies did last year. But they were also a lot older, and we saw that almost. A lot of those guys ended up coming up to the big leagues. Right. Brant Herter started that game. I think Ty Madden pitched after him. That was Briseño's kind of breakout, like hit 112 mile an hour double. Everybody's like, huh? So But this year, as I touched on earlier, the Braves farm system is no good. They, I don't mean to be mean, like, and I don't know it intimately. I'm sure there's some really nice prospects in there that are under the radar, but they don't have a very good farm system, and they're like most of their best prospects are not going to be there anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, well, they kind of a younger, like in terms of guys who are really good at like low A or single A, right? Essentially,
yeah, I mean, kind of. It's a mix of guys who are trying to make the big league roster and guys who are younger, like AJ Smith Shaver or whatever is. He was in the same draft class as Jackson Jobe, I think. And he's been in the big leagues a couple times, but he's not. He's still technically, rookie eligible. But he's he's competing for a spot in the rotation, I think.
Yeah, they got Nacho Alvarez, who's in big league camp too, as well, right?
Yeah, he got to the big leagues last year too. So they're having those guys, and then the Braves are, I think, consider themselves a legitimate championship contender, right? So they're gonna anybody who could possibly help the big league club right now, they're gonna have them up there. But yeah, on paper, the Tigers should wipe the floor with them, but you never know, right?
Yeah.
It may be that these, the players on the Braves roster are all 26, 27 years old and, going to tear up these kids from A-ball.
Yeah, it was their number one prospect is what, according to Pipeline, Drake Baldwin, 6'8" guy. Huge guy.
He's not 6'8". He's a catcher.
Who,
Drake Baldwin?
Drake Baldwin? I thought it was a pitcher.
No, Drake Baldwin's a catcher.
He's 6'8"
He's 5'10". I don't know what.
What am I thinking? Who am I thinking of then? I think of who the hell am I thinking of then?
I don't know.
Or am I thinking of? I'm sorry. Am I thinking of?
There's. I don't know. I don't know the Brave system that well. I don't know who's. Oh, okay. What? Bauman, Garrett Bauman. They're saying.
Yeah. Sorry, Garrett Bauman. Sorry.
Yeah. So yeah, he's 6'8", so that'll be interesting. But yeah, Bauman and Baldwin. Okay, I don't. Did you say Bauman?
Yeah, I might have said. Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, that was.
No, okay, yeah, my bad. Baldwin is their top prospect. Bauman is their top prospect in terms of height, probably. Yeah. But yeah, no, and Cam Caminiti they have was a guy that some people thought the Tigers might draft, and but he's like Scheffelbein and Hall. He's not. It's his first year in pro ball. They're not going to put him out there. They want to ramp him up slowly. So I don't know. I'm excited to watch these Tigers players. And like I said, they should probably do okay against the Braves, but we'll see.
Yeah, Baldwin will be getting a lot of time because Sean Murphy's out. So he's going to get in some time in camp. That'll be a big thing to look out for. So please like and subscribe to all our content over at Tigers Minor League Report. We just did an interview with Patrick Lee. Again, thanks for that, Patrick's time, for taking the time to talk to us. Really nice young man, and we got the chance to get to talk to him a little bit about where he came from. Again, it was a fun fact to know that he played at Evansville, where the Tigers were once a AAA affiliate until 1980, from 74 to 84. But just his story is really cool. Like, just went undrafted, and how Ryan Garco got involved. So if you go to our player series, TMLR player series playlist is there. Like and subscribe. Like, I looked at the percentages, and it's like 52% of people, a little more than half, that watch your content don't subscribe. Come on, just take 2 seconds, do your thing.
Yeah, there's literally no downside to it, unless like it's not like videos land in your inbox or something like that. It just they just you kind of know when they pop up.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
That's all it is. When they pop up, and we don't bombard you with that stuff every single day. I mean, we do on our Patreon, by the way, now. So if you go to our Patreon, become a free member. There's a free membership, and there's a tier membership. So the tier memberships, there's Jerry did a really good article on that, and there's some other video stuff in there too. But we're going to be throwing more behind the paywall. But the scouting reports have started up again. So Ashley, who is our new intern for the summer, has been cranking them out. She wrote 6 in 2 days, and so kudos to her. So if you're gonna, we're gonna have her on the Motor City Metrics feed here in just a second. But thanks so much for watching. Thank you for also thank you for all the compliments and watching our top 46 breakdown. We had some really good feedback on that, and that was a lot of fun to do. And thank you again for watching and giving us some feedback on that. It was really good. So thank you, and we will talk to you again soon. Have a good evening or night, whatever you're doing.